Diane.
Let's see it. Well, you see, Grandma doesn't shop around. She can't.
Joey, put your scraps in.
Is this the kind you can take to school with your things in?
Yeah, that's the idea.
I wanted to say
Boy, that's nice.
but it's already.
Yes. That's really nice.
I think I'll
Did
open
you
it.
get a
I'm doing this
backpack too, Josh?
Doesn't know yet. But this says from Joey.
Oh, you're opening one at a time, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Ooh, boy, what have we here? Wow, Joey. Ooh, pretty.
Too small.
No, that's not too small. That's not at all.
Yes, that's pretty
That's
good.
real nice, Joe. Thank you.
Let's see how women can snap those things in the back so quick.
Oh, we're quick.
Okay, Dad. No, I think it's Grandpa's turn.
Yeah, Grandpa and Grandma, you got a present to Grandma and Grandpa there.
Well, we already
Well, the
opened
one that's
that
in your
one.
lap. The one that's in your lap.
Yeah, the one that's in your lap.
Oh, this is for Grandpa and Grandma too, my goodness.
You might
Get it all pretty packaged up.
Oh,
From Marilyn and Jim.
what is that?
Oh, what is that?
What is that?
Well, that's what I need. If I've got a place you can put it up, it sure would.
You don't put it up, you just add it to your counter.
Dad, I think I'll get a knife.
Oh, a
No.
can opener.
I can't open it without
Look
a
at it
knife.
later. Yeah, you can open it up later.
If the boys want to get me a knife, I'll open it, otherwise I need that.
There.
So, did you slip, Joe?
Not quite as bad as the medicine forget I can't open.
Did you see that game between
Mom,
St.
he knows
John's
it's a
and
book because it fell.
UCLA
No, I didn't.
basketball game? That's St. John's is really, they're really good.
I about cut myself too.
Got a team.
Now I guess it'll come out.
They won't lose any game.
What kind of sports did you play when you were a kid, Dad?
Everything, anything and everything that was going at the time.
Prisoner's base. That was-
Yeah, think base,
Stink base.
yeah.
What was that?
Dad, it's your turn.
Well, prisoner's base or whatever.
You probably
Hold the camera up when I do it. When
Gosh,
you
it's
open.
been so long ago I didn't got it.
only looking guy.
Yeah. The one with a lot of feathers on his face.
Alfalfa.
Alfalfa. You guys are homely. You wouldn't know who he is, would you?
Mary, I think you got your hats on. Mary Ann's
Yeah.
moving.
His name's Alfalfa.
Oh, where's she moving
I'm
to?
staying on one.
Where she wanted to go.
Thank you.
Where's that?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, well,
That's where she has to go with see, they got a special notice, she said, or a kind of a hurry up notice, so they had to hurry up and, they were in really a rush doing things. So they're moving to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Who's that?
Mary Ann, you read her letter. You forget.
was that well?
Didn't forget, I didn't know who you were talking about.
We surely got a Christmas letter from them.
Hey, Mom.
But maybe your letter was to all of us, but probably not. Usually she was already both of us. I don't recall getting
Shadley's dad. Mom,
That was the
Shadley's
Christmas
dad.
letter that that we got.
His dad wasn't Santa Claus. He would have got 2 candy canes with Jocko's or whatever. He got 2 of them to a
Well, I ordered up some socks for Bill and wrapped the present.
Yeah, I'd watch out for that.
What's this? Camera or something?
Yes. It's not a movie camera. It's a TV camera. I know. It's a movie camera. Whatever. It's not a movie. Yes, it is. Whatever you want to call it.
What is it?
Talk to the boss of this show.
When can we distribute presents? Presents.
What is a TV camera different from a...
It's not really.
I want
This is
you,
what they use for the news nowadays.
I want you to interview your grandparents.
Everything is videotaped.
I said, I want you to interview your grandparents.
You're supposed to ask questions, I think.
How old are you? How old are you? 91 or 90? I don't know how old you are. You're going on 89. He's 84. What's your name?
I couldn't really Anna and
Aurelia. you call your grocery
The
store?
pie place.
What did you call your grocery store?
I guess they call it grocery.
Stratton General Store, didn't they?
I think they called it the root cellar.
Root cellar.
Well, they,
We buried to put fruit and potatoes and things like that in the ground.
You buried fruit in the ground?
Yeah,
Did it work?
it worked. We dig a pit, line it with straw,
kind of like a fruit cellar.
and then we'd cover it up, open it up in the winter time when we needed it.
Is he taking pictures of them? Or what?
What do you think?
I don't know what he's doing.
Yes, he is. Dad, can we be done now?
No, I want you to interview your grandma.
Okay.
Okay, Joshua, go interview your grandma.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid counting money.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
What do I ask? What was Christmas like when you were a little girl?
Christmas? Well, some things were like what you have now. When I was a little girl, we hung up our stockings. In one house we lived in, we had a fireplace and we could hang it. It was a artificial fireplace. You never lit a fire in it. We hung our stockings, but we didn't have fancy stockings to hang up. We hung up our own stockings. We took our stockings off at night and we hung them up by the fireplace. And maybe we'd get orange candy or a cap, a warm cap or mittens, things like that in our stocking, even nuts. And we used to get some toys as we got toys. Dolls, the girls always got dolls. And one of the nicest things that I remember when we were living in Kansas City and our grandmother and aunts were living in Carthage, why, they sent us a box for Christmas. And that had lots of pretty things in and dresses for us and things like that. And we didn't have Christmas trees. The only place we had a Christmas tree. We went to church. Every year we were in the church program. And our parents went to church the night we had our program, just like you do. And we got a little bag of candy at church. And we had a Christmas tree. We didn't have lights then. Didn't have electricity then. But they had popcorn and all kinds of pretty things. They made things and hung them on the tree. And I can remember lots of nice Christmases. When we got a little bit older and we moved to Springfield, well, before that we had some nice Christmases that I particularly remember. Let's see, when I was a little girl, I told that story to you and Joyce today, didn't I, Joe? She was talking about dolls. She's still old-fashioned. She gives her granddaughters dolls, and they don't give the boys dolls. Mm-hmm. And I told her, was telling her about, or remember telling you and Joyce about the doll that I played with before Christmas. I snuck in a closet and found my doll. And I'll always remember that. She never knew I found my doll. Maybe she did, but she didn't let on. And my doll had blonde hair, and my sister always got a doll the same way that I did. And hers had dark hair because I was black hair and she was light hair.
14.
And let's see. These dolls had china heads, real nice china heads, and kid bodies out of real kid. And they could move their arms and legs, and that
What do you
was
mean, kid?
it's the kind of leather-like stuff.
Oh, goat.
They were nice dolls. They called them kids, but I guess it might have been goat skin. Anyway, they were stuffed, and they could move their arms, and they had the joints for that. They were really nice dolls, and I remember my sister and I getting those dolls for Christmas.
Were they stuffed with sawdust?
What?
Were they stuffed with sawdust?
Something like that. But they were nice dolls.
Do you believe in Santa Claus, or did you?
Oh, sure. I still believe in Santa Claus. Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Santa Claus is, well, he's a pretty good fella. We didn't have dressed up Santa Claus on every street, but we had dressed up.
Something that your grandmother never had when I was 14. I had graybacks,
What's grayback?
body light.
Yeah. Why'd you have body lights?
Huh? I got them working in a shoe factory. And
You were grown teenagers.
Well, what does body lice and working in shoe factories have to do with Christmas?
Gotcha.
yeah, it's something to remember.
He wanted attention.
Who wants to remember body lice, Tracy?
He wants the attention. He had to think of
I
something.
had another kind of lice too.
Well, let's get into kinds now. How many different kinds did you have?
I had them all. Every kind they could go in.
I've known Pop to brag about a lot of things before, but
That's like
something else, huh?
anything to get the floor.
I just like to know how lice came to hook in with Christmas.
Well,
I think what Grandpa's saying is he wasn't home after he was 14 to have a Christmas.
that was about it.
So where were you?
Working in shoe
Well,
factories.
Worked in a shoe factory at $1.10 a day.
What
And
did
then
you
I
do?
got a job in a tobacco factory at Liggett Myers. And
What
I
did you do in the shoe factory?
Oh, you use a form that you cut for certain pieces of leather that went into the shoe, like a kind of a, what do you call it?
Cookie cutter?
Yeah, cookie cutter, something like that. And I worked in a tobacco factory. I started in at $1.10 a day, and I got promoted. I got promoted to $1.55. Yeah. And they'd come in at least once a week. They'd come through and throw you a whole pound of chewing tobacco. They had purpose in doing that. induce you to
Joey, don't do that.
use it. I got so I could spit as high as any of them.
Who'd you live with then, Dad?
Well, I was living on my own as far as I know.
Did you live in a boarding house?
Yeah. It cost about $2 a week.
I was gonna say, you weren't living on your own as far as cooking went, because if you did, you would have never made it to almost 89 years old. Somebody else was cooking.
Yeah, that's right.
You can do most anything if you have to.
Well, he can cook soup.
I was
Yeah.
even good at
Cool too.
hitting the back door to the handout.
I said.
Still are.
See, we always went someplace to eat when I was not there to cook. He always found someplace to visit.
That's how I learned how to cook, you know. Self-protection whenever you left.
Did you work in any other factories?
Not while I was a boy. I worked on farm mostly. At 16, I was working on a pig farm in Iowa. And I got through, I smelled just like them. You could smell me long before you saw me.
Now Grandma's turn.
Well, if you want to talk about working away from home, I'll tell the boys about the kind of store I worked in. The first store I ever worked in was a little dry goods store in Olathe, Kansas. And we had wires running across with the little cans that you put the money in. And they had a balcony up above the store in which the
Your daddy is full of it.
in which they had a cashier to change the money. And the clerk that waited on you, of course, just put the bill, folded up the bill and the money you gave her in these little cans. And then they had a pulley that took this little can across the wire and up to the cashier. Had one cashier. And she'd change her money and send it back to the downstairs. It was just like a balcony up there where they had the cashier. That was in Olathe, Kansas. And then I worked in a dime store one Christmas after we moved to Springfield. That's even after I taught country school. After that, I taught school for working, but I never did see a store like that for years now. But they used to have those.
They're quite common in Springfield.
Yes, I said I haven't seen a story for years like that. Well, Christmas, I don't know. Marilyn wanted to get back to Christmas. I wrote a story about it. The different Christmases. It's down there. Somebody can type it someday. I read it to you, didn't I? Somebody read it. I wrote it. I wrote this little story about the Christmases we had when the first year that we didn't go with you to Christmas, 1981, and I was sick. And I've got it down there to type. Anyway, you want me to tell stories about when I was young, not when my kids were young. I can tell you some things about different Christmas. First Christmas I ever remember was when I was a real little girl. before we moved to Kansas City, and I went to my grandpa's, and they had a Christmas tree. They got it out of their own yard, and it was, they had a parlor in the houses in the country. They always had a place where the living place, the living room and the kitchen, and then they had a parlor where they entertained the preacher or any one like that came. And in the parlor, they didn't go into the parlor much, but on Christmas, they had, I can remember very well, this great big tall beautiful tree. No decorations on it, but it was so pretty. In this big room where they had called a parlor. Parlor, in the sitting room. Grandma Haskins had a parlor. Of course, that was later when I... And she kept her apples and stored things like that in her parlor. But her living room had her stove in. But there were quite a few Christmases, I remember. I remember what we got for Christmas then at Grandpa Stanley's was oranges. That's all I remember. We always had a good breakfast, but orange was something special at the table. And
What are you tired?
yeah, I had a lot of nice Christmases, I remember, but that would
Tell a little
take
bit about the life on the farm.
dial. What?
Tell a little bit about life on the farm when you first got your farm.
Which farm?
One where you raised your kids.
Here?
In Michigan.
Oh, when we raised the kids in Michigan. Well, I could tell you some pretty interesting things about the first time I went to Grandpa Anderson's farm and the things that we did and how we lived and everything. But,
Yeah,
what? You want me to tell that?
sure.
Okay. We went to Grandpa Anderson's. They didn't have a toilet. You had a pot in the house. And a barn. And they had an old, oh, you're not going to tell all this on something. They had an old toilet, I guess, that had broken down, and there were no women living there after that. And they didn't build a toilet. So all we had was a chamber. All we had was a chamber pot. And if you wanted to, well, of course you had a wash pan to wash, but if you ever wanted to do anything more than wash, you'd have to go to the creek or someplace like that. You could wash your face. And we washed our clothes down by the creek, and hung them on the rocks, nice big flat rocks to dry. And that was in the summertime. I don't know what they did at Grandpa Anderson's. They never washed clothes except left some of the neighbor women come and got them. And we had a boiler, and we could build a fire down by the creek. And we had soap, and we washed our clothes down there. And
You used the washboard.
yeah, I suppose they used the washboard. But we weren't there very much. But one summer we did spend quite a bit of time there. The summer that we stayed in Missouri for him to write his thesis.
Who's him?
What?
Who's him?
Dad.
No.
We were there 6 weeks, and we had Helen, a baby, and we took her baby bed down, and we left Helen and the baby bed with Grandma, and Grandma took care of Helen, and we went to the farm and stayed 3 weeks. And that was quite a chore to stay 3 weeks there. And you didn't have any ice boxes. We had ice boxes, but they didn't have any ice box.
Was Uncle Mark?
They had a well where you could put a rope on buckets.
Cistern.
And you'd put, to keep your butter and your milk fit to eat, you'd put them in these buckets and drop them down in the well by a rope and pull them up. And that's the way they kept milk and butter. They ate lots of biscuits and cornbread. And jam. We had lots of blackberries. We picked blackberries there. But they were little tiny things, but we picked them and canned them while we were there on an old wooden stove. And Barbara, the time that before that when we went there, we went to the blackberry patch, and Barbara was just a baby, and we'd put her on a blanket and set her down, and Mark was a little bit older while we picked blackberries. But it was pretty rough there trying to survive. And we canned blackberries for him that summer that we were there long enough, and we made jam. But when I was a little girl, I lived on the farm for a little while. I don't remember too much about it. But we had what you call a spring house to keep all those things. And that was lovely. The spring house was built over a little spring of water, which was real cold. And they had it fixed up so you could walk in, and then they had rocks, and you could put your food down in the spring house to keep it cool. And then we lived in Kansas City for about 5 or 6 years. We moved to the country. And in the country there, we had where we lived in Lenexa, Kansas, we had a well with a pulley on it. You know, you let the water down. Or, do you ever see a pulley? You wind it and you let your bucket down and fill it with water and bring it up. We had good water. And then we had cistern at the house, and the cistern water was collected on eaves around the house. When it rained, you collected all your water because it gets so hot in the summer that you wouldn't have enough water. And this was soft water, and it was the water that we used to wash clothes. And my mother had a hand washing machine and things like that. And we gardened there. That was before we moved to our own, long before we moved to our own country place. Barbara and Mark and Helen were all raised in, I want to say Kansas City. I'm saying all raised in Detroit. And Jim was 2 years old when we moved to the farm. But we always had a garden. We gardened vacant lots when we lived in Detroit. We always had a garden, and we always had flowers. And when we moved to the farm, Jim was 2 years old. And that's when I don't think you want me to go through all this. It's getting tiresome. Yeah. It'd take more time. Yes, he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, take more time.
Why don't we call halt for now?
Yes, because why you get me on farms, why I can tell a lot of stories about that.
We ought to check and see if all this is working then.
Yeah.
Jim?
I'm not too good at,
Telling the stories.
yeah, I could tell stories, but just,
Oh, you're doing fine. That's very good.
What were they made of? What kind of candy?
Mint. Oh, they were tasty the other place had some.
Raspberry.
Ooh!
In a Rugrat jar.
In a Rugrat jar? And what else
Baby
is
jar?
there?
Can't remember.
Whoa, almonds. Oh,
Almonds.
thank you.
Snack for the game tomorrow, right?
That's right.
Oh, I don't want to hear about that game tomorrow.
We'll hear
I
about
remember, I
it.
can only have 2 beers before I go to work tomorrow.
What, one in the first half and one in the second half?
Picking up to that.
Now this is from Joey. Is he doing anything or not?
You think this is,
Got it on?
Is this it? Is
are
this
you
cheese
that
time?
ugly or is this camera that bad? Don't put your fingers out.
Is this audio also?
Yeah, this is
Should I sing for you?
1984, yes.
Longer than always is a long, long time.
I'm not getting very good. I don't think
Not very good audio,
Raleigh
right?
said he got this thing screwed back in, but I don't think
Is
it's
this
good.
audio on?
Thank you. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, the audio's on.
Ads are wonderful. We're on
Yeah.
on the refrigerator for all the messages and insects.
Those are sweet.
Where was that from now?
Sugar Plum Factory this year. They had
Which
some
one was
cute.
that now?
You know what year
Well,
this
that was
is,
just a
Joe?
3-day thing there at the Plaza 305, you
I
know.
went to that. That was
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So I got Jim a dinner triangle. He was thrilled. We've got it out front here
And guess
somewhere.
what, Marilyn? I can't hear it anywhere.
I'll go back to the whistle then. Can't hear what he said.
What do we got here?
Doesn't echo across the field.
No.
I'll open up Superman.
Right.
What do we got?
Oh, that's tomorrow morning, Walt.
This on?
That's first half.
For the game.
Oh. Oh.
Oh my goodness. You're fired, Wally. You're fired.
I hope you didn't get that on video. Sorry about that.
Don't be. It was empty.
There was a swallow in there.
darn good.
There was?
The carpet?
Lick that sucker up.
Here's
Shut of
second half.
Second half.
Hey.
Would you
Thank
move that
you.
camera to please?
Goodness.
I hope you enjoy that. That's my, what do you call that stuff?
Beer.
Irish stuff.
That's the Irish stuff there, huh? You
Yeah,
bet.
you had that before. That's
Hey, I
my,
know. Maybe you
You
get a
bet.
job with King TV or something, Bill.
Me?
Yeah, you
Oh,
could be the
yeah.
person that
Then
goes
why
around
don't
like
you
called
go
her.
to somebody else, please?
Irish stuff.
I haven't taken a picture of you yet, Kathy.
Oh, good, I'm glad.
I really haven't.
I'm glad.
I gotta get over here real quick.
No, I've had
Make sure it
enough.
works.
Thank
Hey,
you.
About your
Quite all right. No,
Kathy,
we're going
Kathy,
to
look.
that side of
You won't be
Tell us
ugly
about
here.
Kathy's year.
Kathy, you won't be ugly here for another year now.
9 months.
Why?
Isn't that how long it takes for you to get to 40?
Okay, now it's Thanks a lot.
I'm
8
ugly
months.
now. I'm
No,
ugly
it's
now.
gotta
I'm in
be.
the 40s.
Oh, it is 8 months. Oh my, countdown.
Oh, come on,
Countdown
man.
to the big
Pull your hand off your chin.
Two-thirds
Don't
of the year.
support yourself. Yeah, give me a big kiss. Better yet, give Wally a big kiss.
Hey, give Superman a big kiss.
I'm sorry, but you can't subtract this from us. You know, we'll keep this for the next 30 years. We'll blackmail you for time immemorial.
The boys can sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny...
We always do Christmas about 7 days after Christmas in this group. Yeah, Bill. We'll remember you. This is a guy on his way up. He's starting out. He's going to become a world-class preschool daycare center operator. Manipulator and child porn center. Okay.
Yes, Dad.
It's on my
Yeah, you get it on me. See, hold it. See, you get loosen up here. Got a little button right here.
Yeah, I know.
That's it. All right. See, you got it there?
Yeah,
Okay. Now, this is 1984, but in 1982, let me tell you the story about the time I swallowed the Brads.
I don't have pictures.
You don't have a picture? Well, take your glasses off. No wonder you can't see. Actually, you can do that with this. Take your hands off. See, you can do that with this. This here thing. You make that go. Yeah. Come on, that finger isn't cut off.
I'm opening.
Oh.
Just from there.
And then, you see, and then the other one works that one there. That finger is cut off. Bill, how'd you get your finger cut off? I know, you got it caught in a snapper.
Good picture, Jim. You got a whole thing.
All right.
Stand nicely next to
Okay, James.
Okay.
Tell us the
You got,
story.
okay. Let me tell you the story about the time Bill made me swallow a bunch of Brads, see? I'll remember that story now. That's all I have to do is say, remember the Brad story when I was finishing Joshua's bedroom? I'll tell that story again about 30 years from now. Good night.
I love their stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
Bring me the loudspeaker.
Jim's turn. He has to wait.
Oh, now we're disconnected here.
Jim, you want to turn?
Yes, sure, I want to turn.
Big Wally. What do you have to say, Big Wally?
Tell a joke.
Only you can tell that candy joke.
I'd like to say that, oh, this is sunny, I can't see.
Jim's gonna open the present over here. Jim's gonna open the present.
Well, you sure took Wally off the hook here.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Joshua,
I don't know quite what to do.
Says
how
Jim.
about tap dance? Hey, boy. Take it
Says
off,
for
take
you.
it off.
Oh, a gift certificate for Jim Anderson. Worth the movie from Wally, Nan, and Sonny at the Viking Video. Oh, that's really sweet.
And you can only get it for
Grand
collect.
clothes.
Only a family movie.
Viking Video. Hey, have you guys got into their under-the-counter list yet?
No, what?
You have to have a gold card for that.
You gotta have a gold card for that. You know, Debbie does Dallas, Fort Worth, and New Mexico. And I don't know.
Jim tried a Playboy review, and that was so tame. We both. I felt
I'm so bored.
There's nothing to them. My
What?
brother had the Playboy account back then.
Good. I mean, just so that they're stiff, but so what?
They're just our...
Yeah, well, the price was.
He looks like